I recently did a video talking about safe blind buys. You can check that video out here if you missed it. That was a very fun video to make, and I got a lot of really interesting feedback from you guys. And one of the most interesting and recurring pieces of feedback I got from many of you was justifying your purchases, your blind buy purchases, based on notes. And a lot of you were saying, well, if it has notes that I know I like, I figure I'll like the fragrance, so it's worth buying. Now, if this method actually works for you and the fragrances you buy based on the note breakdowns are actual loves for you, and I do believe it needs to be a love in order for it to be worth it, at least to me. If that works, then great, you're winning the game. But I would imagine that most of us have had these types of expectations unmet, and that could be good or bad. Sometimes it's better than you would expect, and other times it is nothing like what you could have ever imagined, for better or worse. In fact, a lot of the time you may not even detect the notes in a fragrance you bought in hopes of enjoying it for those notes. Where did they go? They might still be contributing to you liking the scent, even if you can't smell them, but you bought them for those notes. Nonetheless, I hope it's clear that it is downright impossible to purely and accurately craft the scentscape of a fragrance strictly through its note breakdown. Because we don't know the proportions of the raw materials, we don't know how the perfumer crafted them to interact together, and most importantly, we don't know how the blend will react when you put it on your skin, and which ingredients will be most prominent over others. A little side note, the more complex a fragrance is, the more notes it has, the more variability we find from person to person, which I think is one of the coolest things about perfumery, but it does create this level of unpredictability. Obviously, if we have a simple note breakdown, if a fragrance is just orange blossom and vetiver, I don't think there's a whole lot of guessing as to what that's going to smell like. Now, whichever one is more prominent, we'll have to see, but you'll probably still smell the other one too. So I don't believe it's wise to use this as an approach to decide on blind buys. I would rather use notes as an approach to decide on which fragrance or group of fragrances or family of fragrances to sample next. I think it will save you a lot of headache, time, and money to admit to yourself that you don't know exactly what you're going to like until you smell it. Even if you're building your taste, I build my taste. I've smelled so many fragrances, but I don't go into a fragrance with this frame of mind of like, oh yes, this has what I like, I'm going to like it. You are setting up a trap door to fall through. Go in ignorant. That's the best advice I could give you. Sample fragrances that feature a note or again a family, do some side-by-side discovery, treat it as an experiment. It's too risky to say, well, I love saffron, I love cedarwood, this fragrance has saffron and cedarwood, so I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna go ahead and blind buy it. Now,
You might like it.
but as possibly your 57th or 157th bottle in your collection, will it actually have a spot in your rotation beyond a week? I hope so. Now, in some ways, using the notes to justify a blind purchase is simply making a rationalization for the blind buy. Shots fired. You want an excuse. You want something that makes sense, that's logical, that seems well thought out, well calculated, and then you go ahead and pull the trigger. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that with you in particular, but I am speaking from experience because
I've done this myself.
I've done this more times than I can count in terms of blind buys. I hardly do blind buys anymore, and I would honestly show you examples of fragrances here on camera of ones that I bought because I thought I would like them based on their notes, but I don't have any of those fragrances anymore. I didn't like them. They didn't really meet the need I was hoping for. I got rid of them, either sold or gifted, and then I just stopped buying fragrances like that altogether. It's a risk and a gamble that is just simply unnecessary. So please do yourself a favor. Sample first if you can, and go in with no expectations. Blank slate, put your ego aside, and just ready yourself to be surprised or disgusted or apathetic, whatever it may be. Let it come to you neutrally. Don't use notes as an excuse to blind buy. Or do. I have no control over your life, so do what you please, but just giving you a friendly piece of advice. I hope that it resonates with you in some way. If it does, let me know down in the comments. If I am completely off base here, I have completely rubbed you the wrong way, you disagree with every word I've just said, or a few of the words I just said, then let me know down in the comments as well, as respectfully as you can muster. Let's have an intelligent conversation about it. That's what this video is for. But nonetheless, thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.